Alright students, today we learned a little bit about disaster preparedness. A disaster can happen to anyone at any time, so it is important to always be prepared and have a plan. If you have a plan, you can make sure your family is safe and comfortable whenever disaster strikes. Now go home and talk with your parents about their disaster preparedness plan.
Oh no, I don't think I know anything about disaster preparedness. There are so many types of disasters. There's fires, there's tornadoes, there's storms. How can I be prepared for every single one of them? My parents are adults and they usually have a plan for everything. I know they have to have a disaster preparedness plan. Hey Mom and Dad, today in school we learned about disaster preparedness. We learned that disasters can happen at any time and everyone should be prepared. I just wanted to ask you guys about your disaster preparedness plan. Oh, I'm so excited. We've been waiting for the day you would ask us about our preparedness plan. We have set up an easy-to-understand guide with a few basic steps that will ensure you will be knowledgeable and ready for any disaster that comes your way.
Step 1 is to know your first and last name, as well as me and your mom's full names. Remember, my name is Stick McStickson, not just Dad. Also make sure to memorize our numbers just in case we're separated and you need to call us.
It is also important to know an emergency contact's name that is not one of your parents, someone who you know and trust, and you can memorize their name and their phone number. Step 3 is to know all of the exits of your home and where to meet in case of an emergency and you are not at home. You should know all of your possible exits just in case of a fire. Also, if disaster strikes and you are not at home, you and your family should locate a place where you can each meet that is close to home and easy to access. Now that you know all of this important information, you should go over it enough times to memorize it, then write it down and put it somewhere safe like your backpack or wallet and carry it with you at all times. Having an emergency supply kit is very important just in case a disaster requires you to stay put in your home for more than a day. The first thing you should have in your supply kit is at least a gallon of water per person per day. You should also have a 3-day supply of non-perishable foods. Those are things like preserved foods. It is also important to have a flashlight, a first aid kit, dust mask and whistle just in case, garbage bags and moist towelettes, local maps, and a cell phone with a solar charger or an inverter. It is important to keep in mind that this is just your basic emergency supply kit. You may need to add other items depending on the area you live in, your immediate dangers, and your specific household.
And now, a very important note for the parents. Children are considered to be one of the vulnerable populations because they are dependent on adults for many of their needs. This is why, as adults, it is our responsibility to ensure that children are knowledgeable about disaster preparedness. Make sure that any disaster preparedness plans are easy to understand and you go over them multiple times with your children. Also, it is important that they memorize basic information like everyone in the household's names and phone numbers. Here are a few links to some very helpful websites that help children with disaster preparedness. They have resources like games and interactive activities that will help them learn how to be prepared in case of any disaster. There's also resources for parents, numbers to call, and links to local community organizations. Phew, now that I know all about disaster preparedness, I can finally relax and watch an episode of The Walking Dead.